All right, let's end this video and we'll
Okay,
start
all
the
right,
next
done.
one.
All right, next.
Cut.
Cool.
Welcome.
Hey, guys, I haven't seen you. It's been a full
Hey.
week, and I'm still wearing the same clothes. So is
Yeah,
Kai.
me too. The time on that clock hasn't changed. So, welcome to the Stephen King Read-a-thon, where we are read-a-thonizing Stephen King's stuff. You know, you can tell from the name what we're doing.
Yeah, reading-a-thon. Reading it all.
And we're in the middle of Salem's Lot, and we are kind of loving it, right, Jordan?
So good.
It really is.
It is. No, yeah. That came off sarcastic, but I really am loving it.
It's really good. And let's discuss chapter 12. So you did the synopsis of chapter 11. Can I do this one?
Yeah, dude. Go for it.
May I? So Mark Petrie, he's the kid. He's 12, right? He's 12. He's like surprisingly mature, got a good head on his shoulders, and he's into like horror and stuff. So he knows his stuff.
Yeah. Sorry, I just want
Go
to
ahead.
interrupt you one time. I just keep thinking like he is 12, but like everything he's doing, I'm like, I would never have done that at age 12. That's what maybe I would do now, but maybe not even now as a almost 30-year-old.
Yeah. I feel the same way. We're like, well, two aspects about him is like his intelligence, his understanding, his level-headedness.
Right.
I could maybe see myself being like that, not at 12, but maybe like in high school.
Yeah.
But then his bravery is something else altogether. Like, he's just like not even fazed by facing vampires. Like, and we kind of talked about this a couple of weeks ago, where like a child is used to dealing with like existential dread and horror and fear. So like it's kind of not even a big deal for him. But still, like it's nuts.
Well, I think that's the other thing that just surprises me so much is that there's a lot of things that he is terrified, but he feels like it's almost maybe a duty to just keep confronting it. Yeah. Whereas if I was in that situation, I'd be like, screw this, I'm out of here.
I'm running.
A vampire? I'm not gonna let that thing bite me.
Sometimes I'll tell myself that like, oh, I'm brave, you know, like if somebody breaks into this house, they're not gonna get out alive. Like I'd kill somebody to save my family. And then like the other night, it was 5 a.m. There was a car wreck. It was a block away, but it was really loud. And I woke up and I went to go check it out. It turned out some guy was probably drunk or something. He had smashed into a mailbox. Mm-hmm. But when I walked around the block, and then as I was coming back, it's pretty dark. It's like 5 a.m. A cat jumped out of a garbage can, and I freaking jumped. And then in that moment, I was like, maybe I'm not as brave as I thought. You know?
But that cat was probably more afraid of you than you were of the cat.
I think it was. That's why it jumped out of the garbage, because it heard me walking by.
Yeah, you scared that cat.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
You kidding me? No, I think it does depend on the situation. Because there have been times at night, I have little kids. A few nights ago, our daughter, our 3-year-old, she's like not sleeping well. And the other night she woke up not crying, screaming. She woke up screaming, and it screamed, and it woke up both of us. And I went running, and I was ready to punch a burglar in the face or something. Like, I was like, is there someone in my kid's room? And I had that moment where I was like, I'm about to rip this guy's eyeballs out. Like,
yeah.
But then that cat scared me.
Well, yeah, I think it comes down to the situation, dude. Like, if someone's down to get to your kids, I'm sure that you would do anything and slap that burglar right in the face to get him out of the house.
For a second,
if not more, you know?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, like I said, I think, honestly, if I was in control of the situation and it wasn't, like, really quick, like, I think I'm a little bit of a sociopath, because I would straight up murder someone. Like, if if they were in my house trying to get my kids, like I would methodically, slowly, like just not even, and I wouldn't even feel bad about it. Like I don't know, I'm crazy. I shouldn't say that on camera.
Well, it's your kids.
But
I think that's appropriate.
But I walked in and she was fine. She was in bed. I think she had a nightmare. I don't know. There was no burglar. I did not commit murder, but I would.
Okay.
Anyway, so yeah, Mark is a cool character. I think that level-headedness that he has really makes him appealing. That I like him a lot as a character, even though he's like a little kid. I feel like he is what they call like the everyman. It's like he's the one that like the character is supposed to like think themselves. Just like kind of like I was just saying, like you think you're really brave, and you think, oh, that's how I would want to react. So that's kind of you kind of relate to Mark that way, even if it's not like an accurate thing. But like so brave, you want to be like him, that it makes you like him. So I really like Mark. So he saw Danny, the vampire kid. So he knows there's vampires also. So he's like, I gotta handle this. Like, not gonna tell any adults or anything. I'm just gonna handle this on my own.
I know.
His parents are like off on a Sunday nature walk or whatever.
Right.
He gets a stake. Gets like was it a tree branch? I can't remember. He got some stick. Oh, it was like a kindling thing from his fire from the wood pile outside his house.
Oh yeah, a big sturdy stick.
And he goes hiking to the Marston house, and then it's him that startled Susan. So that was nice. For a moment there, I was worried about Susan. I thought Straker had her right at the end of the last chapter, but then it was Mark, and they kind of talk, and it's so funny because he like teases her for having such a spindly little.
I know. I thought that was funny too.
You really think you can kill a vampire with that? It's gonna break as soon as it touches their chest or whatever.
And as the reader, you're like, oh yeah, that's logical. That makes sense. Yeah, that would probably break. Yeah, don't use that.
12-year-old really knows his stuff. So they go up to the house. Straker has left. They break a window. Mark is so brave. It's like foolhardy. He breaks a window and climbs in, and then he pulls Susan in. And again, we've mentioned this before, but like the knowledge of the characters, like Mark and Ben and Matt, what they know about vampires is all like folklore and Dracula basically, but it's all accurate. It's kind of funny because like in this world it's true. So Danny's like, don't worry, the sun's still up. He's gonna be in his crypt in the basement, in the cellar. So like they know exactly where he's gonna be, and they're right about it. So they go.
Sorry, other small side note. So because I didn't have the book for a little while, I started reading Dracula by Bram Stoker.
Oh, did you?
Yeah,
Bram Stoker.
Stoker, yeah. But a lot of things are pretty similar.
Oh, really? I really want to read it. Everybody, it's so funny. All these classic books, I sometimes feel like, oh, they're so old. They're probably really dry and boring. But like, I read Frankenstein. And it was fantastic. And
so is Dracula. It's surprisingly like, yeah.
Cool.
And it's written in a style where like it's people's journals. So it doesn't talk about the characters. It's just like people recording all these things. Super interesting. Sorry. Anyways. Yeah. It's
so they break into the house and they find I thought this was an interesting, creepy detail. What's his name? Mark, he picks up a book and it's like bound in, it didn't say it, but I'm thinking it's bound in human skin. Because it said it was like a weird leather texture, but it was oddly familiar. I'm thinking it's human skin. But anyway, he opens it and it's like a diagram of like someone disemboweling a child or something. And that to me, like, well, kind of like what we were just talking about, like defending my kids. Violence against kids to me is just like, that's the line. Like, don't go there, you know?
Right.
Like the stuff about Randy, the baby that's been abused by his mom, him becoming a vampire, is at the same time like so horrifying to me, but also so intriguing because I want to see a baby vampire. But I'm really freaked out about it because, like, I don't know, it's a baby. Like, you don't want to see anything like unnatural that has to do with a baby. So anyway,
Right.
yeah, picture of like a kid getting his guts torn out, and like Mark just closes the book and he's like, oh, like I don't know. So they go on. They find the door to the cellar. They're just about to go down when Straker actually shows up for real this time. And I think does he hit? He doesn't hit them. He like speaks, and they turn around and he's there. And right, I think it's been a few weeks since I read it myself. But then he does knock Mark unconscious.
Yeah.
Mark wakes up being carried up the stairs. And Straker, this is another good moment where we get to see, like, you know, some explanation and stuff. He tells Mark that he has taken Susan down into the cellar, that his master is going to find her when he awakens, and he'll take care of her. And the sun is going down, by the way, people. It's like 6:30 at night. The sun's like, it's going to be setting within the next half an hour or so or something like that. And he puts Mark up in the room where Hubert Marston hanged himself, you know, years before, decades before. And he ties him up. This was my favorite part of the chapter, actually, because as a kid, I loved magic, and I loved stories about Harry Houdini. And so
Oh, yeah.
Straker ties him up, and I keep thinking Danny. Mark is thinking about a book that he read about Harry Houdini and how he would escape. And I kid you not, I don't know if you'll believe me. When I was a kid, I heard this exact same thing that Mark is thinking to himself. And me and my brothers used to practice. We would tie each other up. I would challenge my brothers to tie me up, and I would like be as big as I could, and I would like flex my muscles as hard as I could, and then they would tie me up, and then once I relaxed, I had some slack, like with the ropes, you know. So anyway,
yeah.
So that's what Mark is thinking, and he does that. He tries to make his muscles all as big as he can, and he holds it. He takes a deep breath and he holds it and stuff. And Straker, I was thinking the whole time, oh, Straker's gonna see right through this. Like he's not gonna fall for that, but he does. Ties him up and he leaves, and he tells him, yeah, like my master is gonna deal with you later. You're either gonna get eaten or turn into a vampire or whatever. I don't know what he said. He's like, yeah, you'll turn into a vampire later. And he leaves, and then so Mark spends like a long time thinking, what would Harry Houdini do, basically? And he escapes from the ropes. He does it. He works his hands until they're all sweaty, and then he like slips through the ropes, and it takes him a long time, but he does it. And then
Andy has that. So that was like my favorite part of the book is how he was like focusing so hard. Like he just kind of slowed everything down. Yeah. And I just like that because I've watched this documentary on like these people that climb Mount Everest like barefoot and in shorts and stuff. And it's because they can
Everest
like
barefoot. Are you serious?
Mm-hmm.
I've heard of people doing it without an oxygen tank, but I don't know about. I've never heard of anything like that.
Maybe it wasn't Everest, but I know that they get in like some super cold climates. And they only have shorts on, no shirt, no shoes. And they're perfectly fine just because they have focused so much on like their breathing and how they breathe and just slowing everything down and kind of warming up their, I don't know. It's just so interesting how the mind works, how you can do that. If you can focus, it's not all about the body. It's the mind's so crazy.
To the point that they're almost sort of in a trance.
Yeah.
Would you say? Is it like that kind of like, it's like meditation, extreme meditation?
Well, they're like still hiking and stuff too. So like they can talk and everything. But yeah, they just train themselves to not listen to what their body is saying.
Extreme focus, I guess. That's and that's what we see Mark doing. And he talks about like there was something, because he got a cut. I think he got a cut on his hand when he climbed through the window or something. He had some sort of injury, and I think there was a moment where like it hurt him and he lost his focus, and like he had to like stop and redo his breathing and like calm down again and do like meditate basically, and then start again. And I thought that was interesting. And just the self-control. And I have to keep reminding myself, like, this is a 12-year-old kid.
I know.
But anyway, he escapes, but then like the windows are like boarded shut, and he's on the second story, and so he doesn't know how he's like gonna get out. But he gets like the leg of the bed, and he waits for Straker. And when Straker comes in the room, and me, it's funny because I had the opposite feeling. Last chapter, I was thinking like positive things, like, oh, Dr. Cody, you know, oh, he got bit. That's horrible. I wasn't expecting. Here, I was totally expecting Straker to like not fall for his Houdini tricks. Like I was expecting him to tie him up like way tighter.
Oh yeah.
And then I was expecting him to try to attack Straker, and Straker would just be like, "What are you doing?" You know, and like
right.
He brains Straker good and like bashes in his head. He's bleeding everywhere. He like hits Straker he just pounds the crap out of Straker. Straker's on the ground, bleeding all over the place. He grabs Mark's leg, but like Mark just keeps hitting him until he lets go, and then Mark escapes. I couldn't believe it when Mark escaped. I was like, "Holy crap!" Like
yeah, I definitely did not see that coming at all. Especially just because Straker's been like a main character through this whole thing, and so you kind of expect him to like go out in the end sort of epically because he's such a main part.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, like he's just gone.
And
One hit. You're like, wait a second, what's going on?
And he's also been shown to have some supernatural powers a little bit, like extra strength.
Oh yeah.
Him carrying like a 300-pound chair, like it was nothing.
Right.
So like, I don't know. It was just I was surprised, but it was very pleasantly surprised that Mark was able to beat him, because it was nice to see Straker get what he deserved. Because right before, we didn't mention it, but when he was like talking to Mark earlier, he's telling him all this stuff about like, you know, you're gonna get killed, and like he just basically has no remorse for anything, and like he doesn't mind killing children, and he doesn't mind, you know, hurting people and turning them into vampires and whatever he does. And so it was nice to see him get what he deserved. And then Mark runs down the stairs and he goes to save Susan in the cellar, but the sun has already gone down. And like he takes a couple steps into the cellar and he hears Susan down there, but then he also hears.
Sorry, just 1 second.
All right, he's back. We should really have you do the synopsis of these chapters, because I've already been talking for like 15 minutes.
But you do them so well.
I
get everything.
I have such a hard time not covering all the details. Like it's hard for me to not include everything. And my wife says that I'm a horrible storyteller because like I'm always saying all these details that don't really matter. And she's like, that doesn't matter. Like just skip to the point. Just tell me. She'll tell me. She's like all the time. Anyway, so Mark tries to rescue Susan, but then he also hears Barlow down in the cellar inviting him down and like laughing, chuckling deeply, and he's like, "Yes, young boy, come down here," whatever. And Mark is almost a little bit hypnotized. He takes a step down and he's like, "Oh no," and he's like, "I'm sorry, Susan, like too bad for you," and like he runs away. But I mean, there's nothing he could do to save Susan.
Well, wasn't it because like he hears her scream and then it just turns into kind of a moan, and he's like, "Oh, yeah, okay, well, I can't risk it now. She's already been bitten."
Yeah, he hears her. I think she says his name because he hears her scream, and then he's like, "Susan, Susan," and then she's down there. And she's like, "Mark, help me!" But then he hears her like moaning, and he hears Barlow's voice also, and so he knows it's too late.
Yeah,
runs away, and then we cut to a little bit later that night. He's asleep in bed. Who could freaking sleep after that? But he's asleep in bed, and he wakes up, and Susan is outside his window, asking him to let her in. We know what that means.
Yikes. Just say no.
Just say no. I did find it interesting. It was one of those things that, like, it's a little bit, I mean, it's not a little, it's kind of a lot creepy. But it's one of those things that, like, he's 12, so he's, like, probably starting puberty. And, like, she tells him, "Let me in, and I'll kiss you." And, like,
oh, yeah.
I'll kiss you. What did she say? Like, not like your mommy kisses you or something like that. Like, I'll kiss you all over. And, like, I think as a 12-year-old boy, because she's like in her 20s, that would be honestly like that would be like a tempting thing.
You're a vampire? All right.
You'd be like, ooh, a girl. Like,
what's the worst thing that could happen? You bite me, you know?
Maybe tempting is the wrong word, but like it would make you almost think twice. I think as a 12-year-old kid, I was so like my hormones were going crazy. I might have said yes.
Yeah. I know.
I'm just kidding. Maybe I'm not. I don't know. I don't even know what I believe anymore. Stephen King has made me question everything.
It's getting in your head, man.
Yeah, dude. So what was your favorite part of this chapter? Did we already talk about that? We kind of did. You said
just that total focus that he had, the control over his mind. And I went into a lot of detail. Like there's a long section on that.
Yeah.
I don't know. I like that because once again, it wasn't just like, oh yeah, he's somehow slipped through. He just untied the knots real quick. Like Straker's tied him up pretty tight. Like he's a full grown man and he knows how to tie up kids, and it's not like Home Alone where he like does a little loose slip knot and then the kid gets away. Like he had him tied up tight with a noose around his neck, and then he just, because he focused so much, he slowly got out of there.
Oh, and it was the same noose that Hubie Marston killed himself with, right?
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Like he put it around his neck. That was an interesting and creepy detail.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that was my favorite part, but for different reasons. Because I just love Houdini, like stuff. And I tell you, I had literally heard or read or something those exact same things that Mark is thinking about. Puff yourself up and try to make yourself as big as possible so that when you relax, you're smaller and the ropes will be looser. And apparently that was something Houdini would do. And so I just thought it was kind of cool. It was like, oh, I remember when I was like 9 and I would do that with my brothers in the garage. We would tie each other to chairs.
Yeah.
But
it's cool too because it just like brings it more, like it makes it more personal for the reader as well, because Stephen King has done this research. Like this is what Houdini would do. Like you can do these sorts of things if you slowly work through it.
Yeah, it definitely felt that way for me. Like it helped me like relate to it.
Yeah.
I want to try something. Let me see if this will work because we're recording. I'm going to share my screen. Let me show you some of my newfound skills.
All right.
Yeah. Because I've been teaching online. Can you see my screen?
Yep, I see it.
Okay, so check this out. I got this idea. Let's make a list of the vampires. So I'll show you, this is what I do with my students like all day. I'm like drawing and they can see it. So we got Barlow. My handwriting's not. So Barlow, he turned Danny Glick, right? Oops.
Was it Danny or? Oh yeah.
Yeah. So Straker,
who was the first one that went missing?
Straker killed Ralphie, Danny's little brother, and he turned Danny into a little werewolf.
That's right.
And then Danny turned Mike Ryerson.
Okay.
Because this thing is growing fast. Like we're getting a lot of vampires.
Right.
He also turned his mom, Marjorie. And then, did he turn anybody else? I want to say he did. Wasn't there? Oh, he's the one that bit the baby.
Oh, that's right.
McDougal, right?
Yeah. Who got to Floyd Tibbets? Do we know who?
I don't think it ever really said, did it?
He was just a vampire.
Yeah, he was just acting strange and stuff. But I imagine it was probably Barlow. But I don't know. We're not really told that one. And then
Barlow, now we know, or pretty sure that he got Susan, right?
Yes. Well, yeah, because now she's a vampire outside of
that's right. Yeah.
Mark's window. And then several of them have been turned by Barlow. He got Dud, the guy from the dump.
Oh, that's right.
Dud Rogers, I think his last name was. And he also got the kid that worked for the telephone company that was cheating. That was.
Oh, yeah.
Corey Bryant. Is there anybody else that's a vampire right now? I want to keep like a running list. I think it'd be fun to keep a running list of like who's a vampire in the town, because I think there's a few others, aren't there?
The vampire family tree.
Yeah. Oh, so there are a few that we're not sure about. There's Foreman. I think his name was Carl Foreman. He was the mortician guy. Let's see. It says that when Mike Ryerson was taken to the morgue, it's like just briefly mentioned that the mortician has gone missing along with Mike Ryerson's body. So it sounds unnamed mortician is a vampire, probably. And then also, Floyd got bitten.
By someone.
But we don't know.
Probably Barlow, because he got bitten pretty early on, right?
That's true. It's probably Barlow or possibly Danny. And then we know, what was it? Some unnamed mortician.
Oh, and then we learned the Glick dad died.
It?
Right?
He? I don't
What's his
remember.
name?
Was it Andy? No, Anthony.
Let me see here.
I don't remember anything about that. I remember he had like depression and he didn't notice that his wife was turning into a vampire. And then she died. Did he kill himself or?
Oh, no, he's just in the hospital in shock.
Shock, okay.
Yeah, Tony Glick, yeah.
And then I think his name was Carl Foreman. Yeah. Carl Foreman. He was like an undertaker. He was the guy who performed Mike Ryerson's. Actually, come to think of it, this mortician might be Carl Foreman, but I'm not sure. Because it was mentioned earlier that like Carl Foreman had disappeared after doing Ryerson's, what do you call it? When they examined
Autopsy.
And then later on, they just mentioned like, oh yeah, Mike Ryerson and the mortician are gone. So I think actually that is Carl Foreman.
Oh, okay.
Who else?
I think that's everybody.
Yeah. So this is
and Jimmy.
Who?
Well, I guess he hasn't turned into a vampire that we know of. Jimmy or Cody?
Oh, Dr. Cody?
Dr. Cody, yeah.
Jimmy Cody, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he got bitten by Marjorie.
By Marjorie, yeah.
Let's say Dr. Cody. Bitten, but not turned. My handwriting is awful. Well, I should say my finger writing. I'm just writing on the screen. I don't even know if people watching will be able to see this or not.
I can see it.
I just thought this would be kind of fun to trace.
Yeah, no, this is a good idea. I like it because then it's more of a visual. You can kind of see what's going on.
Danny, I gotta say, he's been a pretty effective minion to his overlord.
Pretty good vampire.
He's turned 3 people. I mean, that we know of.
That's a good salesman.
Yeah, I mean, I would want him on my team if I were him. Oh, you know what? That reminds me of something else that we've sort of learned about the vampire. It was mentioned that once you're bitten, you try to bite your loved ones, like the people that are closest to you. So that's why like the vampires are not attacking just randomly. That's why like Danny went to Mark's house because they were friends.
Oh yeah.
Danny also, he bit his own mom and like stuff like that. Because Straker was mentioning to Mark, he was like, oh yeah, like, you'll probably go turn your parents and your friends and stuff like that. And then so Mark, the end of this chapter 12, he's thinking like, oh, he's figured it out. He's like, I gotta go tell that writer guy, Ben Mears, because he'll know what to do, because he's a writer and he'll know about this kind of thing. And then he thinks to himself, unless Susan has already gotten him, because he knows they're dating. So like, it's gonna be, I think, sort of a race. Like he's got to get to Ben before Susan does.
So why did Susan come to Mark? Was it just because they had that little interaction of?
I think that must be it. Just because they were together right before she got turned, I guess.
Okay, that makes sense.
But yeah, so yeah, I'm excited to see what happens in chapter 13. To be quite frank with you.
Do you know how much is left of the book?
I don't really know, but we're like 60%. We're almost like 2/3 of the way through.
Okay.
But we're getting there, but we've definitely got plenty more action to come.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm excited. Crazy.
We're getting back into the swing of things here. I'm glad that we were able to have this little chat here.
Yeah. It was good.
You don't seem convinced. Yeah.
Yeah, whatever. All right. Good night.
Well, my friend, is there anything else you want to throw out there? You want to mention? You want to discuss? Chapter 12 was pretty straightforward. We mentioned in our last video how, like, right at the beginning of our last video, how Stephen King's chapters are pretty straightforward, but they're also complex. Chapter 12 was not that complex. It was really just Mark in the Marston house, and then he escaped. It was awesome. Smashed Straker's head in.
I think chapter 11 just kind of, there was so much chaos and so much action that chapter 12 kind of had to slow it down a little bit just to.
Do you think Straker's dead?
Get it back. I don't know.
Or just unconscious?
There's a lot of blood, but he kind of let go, and he did run out pretty fast. I guess I wonder, because he's been such a big part of it, like why would he just die now?
Yeah.
You know?
I don't think we've seen the last of him. I think he's got to show up again later. Something. I don't know.
Or maybe he gets bitten right before he dies, and he's going to turn into a vampire.
Oh, like maybe Barlow will save him by turning him into a vampire so he can live on?
Could.
That could be it.
I guess we'll see.
Yes, we shall see. And you, viewer, shall also see.
You're just pointing to me, so.
Oh, sorry.
I'll see it too.
Let's do it at the same time.
Okay.
And you shall see.
Oh, where's my camera?
Point at the lens.
I didn't know where my camera was.
Jordan's like, where are they watching me from?
And you will see.
The lens, Jordan. It's the lens.
Right.
That's how the camera works.
There.
Yes.
Okay.
So we will find out, and then you will learn about it through us, or just go read the book and enjoy it, because it's pretty good. All right. Okay,
it's been an eventful night. So go get all tucked in bed, dream of vampires and everything, and we'll see you in a little bit.
Later.